Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Representatives from the New Hampshire State Police say that a 40-year-old homeless man has been arrested and is facing charges this week after he allegedly stole an Amazon delivery van and led police on a chase. According to reports, the incident began at around 2:45 p.m. on November 13th when the suspect, later identified as 40-year-old Richard Roya, hopped into an Amazon delivery van on South Fruit Street in the city of Concord. The vehicle had been left momentarily unattended by its driver, who was busy delivering packages to nearby residents. After speeding off, Roya reportedly got on the I-93 and began traveling south. However, police were able to track him thanks to a cell phone that belonged to Amazon that had been left inside. When state police caught up to Roya and attempted to pull him over, he allegedly ignored them and a pursuit began. This apparently went on for about 20 miles until Roya pulled onto a dead-end street in the city of Manchester. Even after getting out of the vehicle and realizing he had nowhere to run, though, police say that Roya still refused to comply with their orders. This allegedly continued even after a police canine was deployed and he was finally taken into custody. Following his arrest, Roya was charged with a number of offenses, including receiving stolen property, resisting arrest, detention, aggravated driving while intoxicated, disobeying a police officer, reckless operation, and operating without a license. However, authorities say that more charges may soon follow. While no motive has been officially released behind the incident, police say that Roya admitted to them following his arrest that he drank a six-pack of beer before committing the crime. He also allegedly stated that he wished he had hit the police cruisers that were chasing him with the van.
Authorities in Salt Lake County, Utah say that a 29-year-old driver is facing charges this week after an alleged road rage incident in which he stupidly pointed a gun at another motorist who turned out to be a cop. According to reports, the incident took place at around 11:45 a.m. on November 14th, when the suspect, later identified as 29-year-old Taylor Ray Bradley, was driving down 5600 West in the Salt Lake City suburb of West Valley City. Things were apparently normal until a truck that was traveling in front of Bradley signaled to change lanes as they approached 4100 South. While it's unclear why, this simple lane change reportedly sent the 29-year-old into a full-blown rage, and after the truck made its turn, he followed. Bradley allegedly then proceeded to tailgate the other vehicle before changing lanes himself and racing up so that he was parallel to the truck. He then began to yell profanities at the other driver before pulling out and pointing what appeared to be a small silver firearm at him. Unfortunately for Bradley, as soon as he was finished with his alleged tantrum and attempted to speed off, the other driver turned on blue lights inside his truck and motioned for him to pull over. It turned out that the vehicle was an unmarked cop car, and the driver was a police officer with the local Granite School District. According to the officer, even though Bradley was caught pretty well red-handed, he still tried to lie about the handgun, which was soon found wedged into the cushion of the front passenger seat. In a subsequent report, the officer referred to Bradley as, quote, an individual who could potentially put the public and other motor vehicle operators at risk for road rage incidents. The 29-year-old was arrested at the scene and was booked into the Salt Lake County Jail for aggravated assault and threatening to use a weapon in a fight.
Authorities in Alameda County, California say that a 32-year-old man is facing charges after he recently attacked a server at a local Thai restaurant because the man wouldn't give him free food. According to reports, the incident began at around 5:15 on November 9th when 32-year-old Anthony DeMaria walked into a Thai restaurant in the city of Berkeley and allegedly demanded free food. When the owner's nephew stepped in and tried to explain to DeMaria that this wasn't going to happen, the 32-year-old reportedly responded by violently attacking him. Footage taken from the business's security cameras captured the moment, which allegedly shows DeMaria kneeing the victim in the ribs before pushing him hard into the table. After the man fell to the floor, DeMaria kicked him one more time in the stomach before trying to flee out the front door. Though most of the restaurant's patrons and staff were understandably stunned by what was happening, two customers quickly sprang into action. They grabbed DeMaria before he was able to get away and reportedly held him until police could arrive. The 32-year-old was subsequently charged with felony assault. Following his arrest, DeMaria tried to explain his actions by saying he was upset over the recent death of his grandmother. For their part, representatives from the restaurant claim that they've had problems with the 32-year-old on at least 2 other occasions, including one case where he allegedly ate a meal and then left without paying. It's unclear if he was charged in either of the 2 previous incidents, however.
Authorities in Charlottesville, Virginia say that 3 people are dead this week and 2 others are injured after a University of Virginia student allegedly carried out a terrifying shooting attack against his classmates while aboard a bus. According to reports, the incident took place just after 10:15 p.m. on November 13th, when a charter bus pulled up to a parking garage near the Culbreth Theater building at the University of Virginia campus. On board were a group of about 25 students who were returning from a full-day field trip to Washington, D.C., where they had seen a play and had dinner together. The energy was reportedly high amongst most of the students at the time. The trip had apparently been a bonding experience for them, and many had spent the lengthy bus ride home excitedly discussing the show they'd seen, listening to music, and chatting. However, before they could get off the bus that evening, tragedy would strike. According to one witness, Ryan Lynch, the situation began when she allegedly saw one of those on board, 22-year-old Christopher Darnell Jones Jr., walk up to another one of the students, Lavelle Davis Jr., and push him. She says she thought she heard Jones saying something along the lines of, quote, "You guys are always messing with me," before she started to hear a series of loud pops. For a split second, Lynch claims she thought the noises might be a balloon. But then, to her horror, she started to smell what she realized was gunpowder, and people started screaming. Lynch stated that when the gunshots continued, she thought that Jones was going to shoot everyone on board, but instead, he soon walked down the aisle of the bus and ran off. Not knowing whether Jones was going to continue the attack once off the bus, those that were able to fled to nearby buildings where they locked themselves down, waiting for authorities to arrive. The campus-wide lockdown would last for nearly 12 hours, until finally, the following morning, Jones was arrested about 80 miles east of the university, somewhere in Henrico County. Around the same time that news of Jones's arrest was reported, it was tragically confirmed that 3 students who had been aboard the bus at the time of the shooting had been killed. At least 2 others had also been wounded. The 3 deceased victims have since been identified as Lavelle Davis Jr., Devin Chandler, and Deshaun Perry. The wounded were identified as Marley Morgan and Michael Hollins. Hollins was reportedly one of the first people who managed to escape the bus during the attack, but reportedly ran back to try and alert and help others when he realized that no one was following him. He was allegedly shot by Jones as he tried to get back onto the vehicle and Jones was coming out. Hollins has apparently already had 2 surgeries since the shooting, but is expected to pull through. Heartbreakingly, according to his mother, the first thing he did when he woke up in the hospital was ask about his best friend, who was one of the 3 deceased victims. Though it's been more than a week since the shooting at the time of this recording, little has been released about the alleged motive behind the crime. However, there has been speculation that the attack was targeted since all but one of the victims, Marley Morgan, was a member of the UVA football team. Jones himself was reportedly on the team in 2018, though not at the same time as any of the victims. Other sources, including Jones's own family, claim that he was the victim of bullying, which some have speculated could explain the statement he allegedly made to Lavelle Davis right before the attack. However, so far, no further information has been provided to substantiate this claim, and Ryan Lynch, who reportedly heard the statement, says that this would be bizarre because as far as she knows, none of the victims even spoke to Jones while on the field trip. As for Jones, those that know him say that they are stunned that he could commit such a crime. That being said, he has reportedly had previous run-ins with law enforcement, most recently for a misdemeanor concealed weapons violation in 2021. In that case, he was given a 12-month suspended sentence and a small fine. At the time of this recording, Jones remains in custody and is facing 3 counts of second-degree murder, as well as 3 counts of using a handgun in the commission of a felony. The situation is still developing.
Authorities in Houston, Texas say that a 25-year-old man suffered a fate far worse than jail time this week after a reckless and illegal stunt in the middle of a busy highway resulted in his death. According to reports, the incident took place at around 11:35 a.m. on November 10th when motorists traveling south on the East X freeway began to notice something strange. It was a man who had somehow climbed onto the top of a moving 18-wheeler who appeared to be dancing on the vehicle's trailer. The man allegedly continued his antics for some time and also may have been recording himself at the same time. At one point, he was even witnessed ducking down as the truck traveled underneath an overpass, only to immediately get back up and start dancing again. Unfortunately for the man, his luck apparently ran out shortly thereafter when the truck approached another bridge at Tuam Street. Instead of crouching this time, he reportedly messed up and was knocked off the truck, sending him falling down into oncoming traffic. The man was rushed to the hospital but was later pronounced dead of multiple blunt force injuries. So far, his name has not yet been released publicly. As far as how the 25-year-old managed to get onto the 18-wheeler in the first place, currently that remains a bit of a mystery. The driver of the vehicle was reportedly questioned by police after the incident and was found not to be impaired. He claimed he had no idea how the man managed to climb onto the truck and furthermore had no idea he was there. Police say that the 2 men also did not know each other prior to the incident.
Authorities in Brevard County, Florida say that a 29-year-old man is facing charges this week after he tried to play a real-life game of Frogger on one of the state's busiest highways in an ill-fated attempt to escape police. According to reports, the incident took place sometime recently when a deputy from the Brevard County Sheriff's Office noticed a man driving at a reckless rate of speed on the I-95. The man, later identified as 29-year-old Zachary Siebert, was clocked going at around 110 miles per hour. Not only that, he was driving with a suspended license. While Siebert did pull over for the deputy when signaled to, much to the officers' dismay, they soon discovered that it wasn't because the 29-year-old was planning to cooperate. Instead, immediately after stopping his vehicle, Siebert got out, yelled a quick apology, and then ran across the busy highway. After managing to miraculously avoid oncoming traffic on both sides of the interstate, he then disappeared into an adjacent forest. Unfortunately for Siebert, though his manners were top-notch and he was apparently pretty good at dodging cars, he wasn't so great when it came to dodging cops. After waiting just a short time, he apparently flagged down a driver and offered to pay him to take him back to where he had left his car. Police were, of course, still searching the area, and Siebert was allegedly discovered hiding in the back seat of this other driver's car while on his way back. Siebert is now facing several charges, including driving with a suspended license and resisting without violence.
Authorities in Colorado Springs, Colorado say that at least 5 people are dead this week and more than 24 others are wounded after a gunman allegedly opened fire on patrons inside a local LGBTQ bar. The incident took place just before midnight on November 19th at Club Q in the city's East Colorado Springs neighborhood. It began when the gunman, later identified as 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich, allegedly walked into the bar and began randomly shooting at those inside. Some witnesses say that they initially thought the noises they were hearing were part of the music before the realization of what was happening sent people scrambling in all directions. According to reports, the shooting unfolded over just a couple of minutes. Police received the first 911 calls at 11:56 p.m. Officers were dispatched a minute later, and by 12:02 a.m., Aldrich was allegedly in handcuffs. Sadly, despite this nearly instant response time, it was too late for some of the victims. At the time of this recording, 5 people have been confirmed dead, while 25 others were reported to be injured. Of the 25 wounded, 19 suffered gunshot wounds. Community members say that they are crossing their fingers for no more fatalities. At the same time, police are applauding the courage of at least 2 unidentified patrons at the bar who reportedly attacked the gunman and held him until they could arrive. Without their intervention, it's been said that the death toll would have been much higher. While no motive has been officially released behind the shooting, The fact that Club Q is reportedly just one of 2 LGBTQ bars in the city has led to widespread speculation that the attack may have been targeted. Police say that they're still in the early stages of their investigation, but are actively looking into this possibility. As for the 22-year-old suspect, it appears that this is not his first run-in with the law. According to multiple reports, he was arrested in June of last year after he made a bomb threat at the El Paso County home where his mother was living at the time. The incident led to a multi-hour standoff which allegedly ended when Aldrich finally surrendered. No explosives were reportedly found in the home. The circumstances surrounding that case remain murky, with sources stating that it's unclear whether charges were dropped against him or how the situation was resolved. At the time of this recording, Aldrich remains in custody, though currently no charges against him have been reported.
Authorities in Leda County, Idaho say that a small college town has been left shaken and extremely saddened this week after 4 university students were brutally murdered in their off-campus home. According to reports, the incident began sometime around noon on November 13th, when police received a 911 call about an unconscious person at a home on King Road, not too far from the University of Idaho campus. However, when they arrived, officers quickly realized that they were dealing with something far more disturbing. 4 young people were found dead inside. The victims were later identified as 20-year-old Ethan Chapin, 21-year-old Kaylee Goncalves, 20-year-old Xana Kernodle, and 21-year-old Madison Mogan. Each of them had been stabbed to death with what authorities now allege was some kind of large, fixed-blade knife. While no signs of forced entry were found at the scene, investigators say that the King Road residence had a reputation as a party house, and that many people may have known the code to the keypad used to unlock one of its doors. They say that a sliding glass door could have been used to get into the property as well. It does not appear that robbery was a likely motive, because so far nothing has been found to be missing from the house. After conducting nearly 40 interviews and obtaining surveillance footage from the surrounding area, police believe that they have been able to retrace the victims' steps on the night prior to their deaths. They say that the 4 students hung out in separate pairs for most of the evening, with Ethan and Xana attending a party at the Sigma Chi fraternity house somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m., and Kaylee and Madison heading to the Corner Club sports bar around 10. At around 1:30 a.m., Kaylee and Madison were seen ordering food from a food truck before getting a ride home from a, quote, private party. The person who gave them the ride is not currently considered a suspect, according to reports. It's believed that all 4 of the victims were home by 1:45 a.m., and that the murders took place sometime later that morning when all of them were asleep. Bizarrely, it said that the victims' other 2 roommates, who were home at the time of the attack, were not injured. While authorities say they also don't believe the roommates were involved, they're not sure why their lives were apparently spared either. The only other information that has been released about the roommates so far is that one of their phones was apparently used to make the initial 911 call to police, though investigators have declined to specify if it was one of them that actually made the phone call. Other than these few details, unfortunately so far, the case remains a chilling mystery. While police initially stated that they believed the murders had been targeted, they have since walked this statement back, though did not clarify why this was the case. Understandably, this has left many in the community on edge, as right now, no suspects have been named, no motive is known, and the person or persons responsible are still out there. At the time of this recording, new developments are still being reported, and the situation is under investigation. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a minute to thank our amazing supporters over on Patreon. As many of you are aware, our situation on YouTube always seems to be a bit uncertain, but our patrons help to ensure that we can continue to make content like this long term without having to worry as much about what surprises might be thrown our way. Plus, patrons also get access to 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. If you'd like to help support the channel directly, head over to patreon.com/crimezone to join. You can also find that link in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and take care.